One of the great names in the Jacksonville community that a lot of you probably don't know, or if you hear it, you are not familiar with it, is Clanzel T. Brown. Clanzel T. Brown was the revered director of the Jacksonville Urban League. Clanzel T. Brown was the mentor of C. Ronald Belton, an urban leaguer who I first met wearing his dashiki and his afro out to here as he went before the city council back in the early 70s, talking about what the city was not doing for its underserved communities. C. Ronald Belton, we call him Ronnie, would become the first black stockbroker here in Jacksonville. And when Alvin Brown was elected mayor, he selected Ronnie as the chief financial officer of the city of Jacksonville, the first time in history that we had elected a mayor, true, but the first time in history we had a black man who handled the finances of the city of Jacksonville. Assistant Chief Lakeisha Burton is a native of Miami, but moved to Jacksonville and enjoyed her time here. She is a 20-year veteran of the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. She is the 4th black female police sergeant. She is the 2nd black female lieutenant and the 4th black female assistant chief. And she's the 1st female executive director in 45 years of the Police Athletic League. So first, C. Ronnie Belton, and then Assistant Chief Lakeisha Burton.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Rodney. Rodney and I talk maybe twice a week. And Rodney, as you all know, and if you don't know, you'll soon know, is a person that keeps you woke. When young people talk about waking up, Rodney keeps you woke. He reminds you of what was and what could be, but the pain of what has happened. So we are sort of like dinosaurs because we commemorate about Motown music and the Civil Rights Movement. Axe Handle Saturday, 60 years ago today, was a horrific episode in our lives. But it was not surprising. In fact, it was a frightening reminder of things that have never changed and that they're still the same. We had incidents like Axe Handle Saturday in the 1600s when we were brought over here. We had incidents like this in 1760. We had incidents like this in 1860, and of course, 1960. And we have had incidents like this all the way up to August 25th, 2020, which was yesterday, our day, yes, 26. So it goes on and on. It is insidious, this whole thing about where we are and what we're doing. I was 11 years old 60 years ago on this date, so I don't have any stories to tell you about my involvement or my horrific escapades of running and whatever. I don't have that because my mama didn't let me. And that's what mamas did. She thought that was good to protect me. And I got real annoyed when in the neighborhood we were hearing about all of these horrific things that were happening to people downtown with these axe handles. And on the news that evening, you didn't hear a darn thing. In the newspaper the next day, you didn't read a darn thing. In fact, the bigot in the mayor's office at the time described this as a skirmish, a little back and forth between some black, rowdy young men and white people. That's how he described it. And it was taken care of and it was over. So in my adolescence, I took that and I just kind of walked with it. Then we kept hearing about all of these things and hearing about all of these things. And I went to my granddaddy and I said, Pop, why am I hearing something from the folk in the project, we were right down the street here, of what horrendous things went on, yet we don't hear anything about it. And he reached down and he pulled a picture out of Charlie Griffin. He said, here is what is happening. And he handed me that picture. And to the Griffin family, I got to tell you, that image was seared into my mind. I mean, I did not know him. Glad to have heard you all. But he represented a turning point to me. He woke me up. He made it real what was going on. That he is all bloody, and I had no idea that was happening right downtown, 6 blocks from where I slept at night. Now I know why when my mama would say to me, don't go walking without somebody with you. She would walk, and we'd come downtown, and she would hold my hand. And she said, when you're with your sisters, hold their hand. I thought it was just love and being careful. And for me, as rambunctious as I was, running out and getting hit by a car, it never occurred to me that in her mind, somebody might try to run over you. So we had that. That's the life we live. So when I hear people up until that point and on talking about how bad things used to be, but how much better they are, and I had read about the Greenwood district in Tulsa, Oklahoma, burned to the ground, the Black Wall Street for the United States, burned to the ground. I had read about Rosewood, Florida massacre. A lot of us don't even know what that is. In Rosewood in 1923, angry white mobs burned that city down and killed people. You know, so when I hear all of this, when I hear a voice saying to us, there were good people on both sides in Charlottesville, Virginia, I'm so angry I don't know what to do. Because when I hear that, I see Rodney and youth members of the NAACP sitting at lunch counters right across from here, nonviolently protesting injustice to all of us. And what happened? They were disrespected, abused, and attacked by racist zealots. Not only that, they were cowards because these were children. These were folk like me that my mama wanted to avoid that happening to me, so she kept me back. And I'm all disheartened when at that time the bigger races were encouraging them, were emboldening them to do it. And we got a guy now doing the same thing. Say, it's all right. It is all right. Do what you got to do because we got to protect this country. So they are not talking about me and you. He's encouraging violence. And we're losing sight of that. So let's think about this. I later read, that there were 200 white men downtown with axe handles and baseball bats. All right, so you think about that. Those are weapons. And they ran Rodney and those out of the stores where they were sitting in and chased them all around town. Your relative just happened to be coming through town. And they attacked him too, because it's like anybody black will do. And they beat him. And I looked at him, and then I saw pictures of some of those white rioters, and I know for a fact 2 of them wouldn't have come near him at all without a bat or axe handle. That fear would have kept them away. But they mobbed him. So when 200 people chase young people and then start beating men and women and children in the streets of Jacksonville to prove a point, to make America great again, I guess, is what they were doing. And then the further pain for me was that I don't know or have heard of anybody being arrested for attempted murder. Because they were trying to kill us. They were trying to kill everybody in that park. They were trying to kill Rodney Hurst. They were trying to kill them all. And we never heard anything about not only anybody being arrested, they certainly didn't get convicted. So we had that, and we still have it. So when I hear folk talking about things are better, don't get it twisted. Wake up. Wake up. We need policy change. We need some things to happen to protect us. You know, these were guys that weren't policemen. They just decided among themselves, somebody instructed them, and they came out to beat these young people up, and thank God they didn't kill them. So that's the blessing. Nobody died. But we know now black folk are dying every day. We know now that some of our white brothers and sisters are being attacked, and they're dying. When you got someone in Charlottesville, Virginia, and he gets into an automobile, revs that engine up, and he plows into a group of peaceful protesters like they are bowling pins. His intention is at minimum to scare, maximum maim and kill. And he did. He killed a white woman. You know, so white people are waking up too, because you got to wake up. Because if you're not a part of this new team and you're on our old team, things are going to get rough. They're not getting any better. So we've got some stuff to do. We've got to pay attention. We got to be woke. So when Rodney writes a book or he's speaking somewhere, you need to hear him. It's not about Motown, because he knows more about Motown than anybody I've ever met. So you talk music all of the time. But the other thing is what is happening to us. We can't lose sight of that. The Griffin family know that. They've got, when I see that picture, when I saw the picture, and I have it, every time I look at him, I get disgusted when I hear some of us talking about how good they got it, how things are better than they used to be. They are not. And you're a paycheck away from being in the same situation that the people you're not willing to help. Now, we got some changes happening. Young people now, especially women, are fed up. They're not taking this anymore. They're stepping up and they're stepping out. Just like the brothers and sisters in the Youth Council of the NAACP, they sat down for justice. These folk now are stepping up and stepping out to make life better for us to be able to live like human beings. That's what it's all about. I want to draw some parallels for you quickly. In Portland, peaceful demonstrations gradually seeming to escalate into violence. And they couldn't quite pinpoint where it came from. But we do know this. All of a sudden, men, maybe a few women, I don't know, but men in uniforms with no identification begin to charge these protesters, grab them, beat them, throw them in the unmarked vehicles and take them away. Take them away. No indication of what they were being taken for other than being in the right place at the wrong time, because that was a place to be. And it made me go back, and it made me want to say to you that in totalitarian societies, in communist societies, and in dictatorial societies, where you got people who want to rule for life, and they're going to do everything they can to disenfranchise you, to dissuade you from voting. Don't get twisted. Wake up. They don't want us to vote. Because people over in those countries, they are in line 2-3 days to vote. And when the vote comes out, the despot that they were voting against wins the election by 90% of the vote. Come on. Nobody wins by 90% of the vote. But they win by 90, if not some cases 100. And in a certain country, if you decide to oppose the sitting president and his council, You get taken, and all of a sudden you are poison. They're killing people. So this thing now is about our life. This is a fight. People are fighting to live because they're killing people all across the country. And over here, we got to be mindful that when we go to vote, and that's the key for us, we got to vote. On that day when you go to vote, or if you decide you're going to mail in your vote, you know, or you're going to early vote, all three work. The data shows that mail-in voting is not fraudulent, but this administration will have you believe it's fraud because they're afraid they might lose. And we got to make sure they do lose. So what happens is you're going to be distracted when you decide to go vote in person, okay, as one of your three options. Make sure you call to make sure that that polling place, that voting booth is where you belong. And when you go there, if the lines are long, get in that line and stay in that line. You know, there was a time in this country that we could not vote. There was a time when women, even white women, couldn't vote in this country. We got that right now. Do not let them take that from you. We have to vote. So go and show up. Be prepared for perhaps, watch this, and I'm just talking now, but be prepared to see some men in uniform all over the place that are there supposedly to monitor and make sure that nothing happens, that this is an orderly kind of procession. And for whatever reason, you might get pulled out of line, or you're in the wrong line, or they want to start a second line and then a third line. Do not get angry and get distracted. It's all a distraction to make you not vote. You got to go. And if you're going to mail it in, get somebody to look at it, make sure you got a couple of eyes on it, and as soon as you get it, like it's been said already, take it back and vote. You got to vote. You got to really, really vote this time, because voting, you got to vote like your life depends on it, because your life does depend on it. Thank you.